everybody, and welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. My name is Marisa Maggio. Today is December 21st, and we're going into the final week of the Family First Life year. Super excited for that. And also just really super excited to be on with an individual I have not had the pleasure to meet yet. However, I have heard some amazing things about him, and I'm really excited to have him on with us today. Not to share his story for him, but a couple things that really stuck out to me were he is still in home. With that being said, I always say in-home knowledge is telesale knowledge and vice versa. And also he's writing at a pretty high clip off of, not too many leads. And also using referrals. Now, referrals is something that if I had to say our team's pretty weak at, like, I'm not speaking for everybody, I would say it's referrals, right? So with that being said, we have Devin Jeffries on the call with us today. Devin, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being on with us. We're super excited to have you. And just to kind of hit the call off, Devin, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you were doing prior to Family First Life, and kind of what got you into the insurance industry with Family First Life.
Yeah, so once again, super honored to be here with you guys today. How we all kind of came about to being here. We all have our own individual stories. I was a counselor before this. I was, my 45 hours a week, made my 35 grand, and everything was okay. I was home by 3:30 every day. That kept the wife happy, and everything like that. So, I remember one day, like literally going to my wife and telling her, I feel like there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more than just we wake up, we go to work, we hate what we do, we smile to get through it, fake it till you make it, so to speak, and then we go home and then, we spend whatever time we've got with our families or whatever. If you have a job that you hate, you're griping about your day. And so actually early on, my wife and I actually implemented a kind of like a bylaw, if you will, in our marriage, where from the moment either of us walk in the door, we each have 30 minutes to gripe about our day. After that, you've officially allowed work to control your home life. So you have your 30 minutes, and if I even bring it up during dinner, she's like, no, you've been home for longer than 30 minutes. What are you doing? So you have 30 minutes, and so I was a counselor. My wife owns a bakery, and hence why I'm this, but that's besides the point. Somebody's got to be the official taste tester, right? So I got started actually to supplement income. I was cutting grass on the side, and one of the guys I was actually cutting grass for was an FFL agent. And he asked me then, he said, have you ever thought about helping families for a living? And I was like, I mean, that's kind of what I do now. And he was like, no, I'm talking about through insurance. And I was like, no, I'm out. Bye. And I left that day. And I remember thinking, like, this is a total freak show of a scam. And he was like, okay, cool, no problem. Well, our families continued to be really good friends, and he just kept telling me, like, you've got the talent to be able to do that. Like, you love people, you care about them. I really think you could do something with this business. And so I remember I thought about it and I prayed about it for a little while. And in February of 2020, I said, hey, send me my course. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get started. And I did my course in like 3 weeks. I got everything done, and then the world goes to poop. So we tabled it for a little while, and then in April of the next year, because we just all survived 2020, right? So in April of the next year, I got started. I wrote my first piece of business doing that, and what I did was in 6 months, I actually made my salary as a part-time agent. I made my salary as a counselor doing FFL full time. So I would leave and go run a few appointments, go door knock some people, whatever, and then get home around 6:30, 7 o'clock. And I wound up making my counseling salary in 6 months. And I never looked back. I said, you know what, if I made it in 6 months, what can I do in a year? What can I do on a full-time effort? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's an amazing backstory, and I love it because, like you said, everybody does truly have their own story of how they kind of got involved into the industry, so to say. But what I do want to lead with is I love how you said, when you walk in the door, your wife walks in the door, you guys have that 30 minutes, and then like we're not talking about work anymore. You
Yeah.
just like it's gone, it's off the table, like non-negotiable. So I love, love, love that. And I think that that's something that's really important for a lot of us, right? Um, Also, crazy background in terms of coming from helping a lot of people, and you're still helping people in a different way. And I do think that that transition, so to say, like if you care about people in one way, you typically care about people, right? And then also just, like you mentioned, you were cutting grass on the side for some extra income. And then you got to know this person a bit more as they talked to you about life insurance. And you realized, you came in part-time, COVID hit, which was probably crazy because you're like, what are we doing, right? But then coming back in April that following year, you were kind of ready to go and you probably believed a lot more in the opportunity. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, 100%. Because I mean, even for during that lull of 2020 that it was, I still didn't necessarily, first off, I'd never had a clue. I'd never done insurance before. So I had no clue of what I was doing. And what I told the gentleman that brought me in is I said, listen, I'm a blank canvas. Train me and paint how I need to do and what I need to do to be a successful agent. And I'll never forget actually the conversation that my wife and I had. So another rule that we have or bylaw in our marriage, so to speak, is we don't curse at each other. There's no way that I can respect her as a woman or she can respect me as a man and cuss at them. So we just made that decision that's something we're not going to do. So we're actually sitting at the gentleman's house, having dinner with him that got me into this. And she said, "Okay, hold up, I need to break a rule." And I was like, what rule do you need to break? And she said, I need to break our no cursing rule because I just don't understand this. And I said, well, by all means, go ahead, enlighten me here. And she said, Devin, you were built and created to help people. You can do that now and get by in life, or you can do that with Family First Life and writing insurance and helping families and all accomplish it the same and put our family on a different financial map. What the are you waiting for? And I remember when she said that, I was like, anybody who's on this call who's been in a relationship longer than 10 minutes, the only response to that is yes, ma'am. I walked into the office the next day, turned in my notice, and October 1st of 21 was my first day full time as an agent. So sorry, the comments are cracking me up right now. So
No worries. I love it. And there's a lot of truth to that. And even, how you got involved and you said like, some people come in and, we all want to know everything, right? We're like, oh, we all know everything. It goes one way or the other usually, right? Like we want to know or we think we know everything, if you will. I don't think anybody knows everything, but that's debatable. However, with that being said, I love how when you came in, you told the person you were working with, I'm a blank canvas. Show me what to do and I'll do it to help people, right? And then bringing up that conversation with your wife, being able to break, like the cuss rule, right? I love how she said you were built and created to help people, right? Like you're built and created to help people. Like why not go do that? And you're going to help our family more as well in the
yeah.
process. And I think that that's a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing, and a beautiful perspective and way to look at it. And I also believe that if you can go back to that in your mind, Devin, which I'm sure you have many times, in the field,
Oh yeah.
whatever it might be, it's like you're going to that next appointment. Like, you're door knocking that lead. You're doing what you got to do, right? So just beautiful story and beautiful way of just kind of getting into the business. Now you came in part-time, you transitioned full-time, and you kind of told us kind of what's that made you decide to transition. But actually, you didn't. What did make you decide to transition from part-time to full-time?
It was really the belief in. So here's the thing: growing up as a teenager and as a young adult, back even before I got married, I didn't really have a deep rooted belief in myself. I didn't believe that I could have the nice things in life. Um, it's still difficult to talk about, and it's still difficult because when you're able to overcome the 6 inches between your ears, when you're able to overcome that, and you're able to speak life and genuine love and care into people. I did it for a living to help other people, but I couldn't do it for myself. And it was during those 6 months that I began to grow a belief in myself of I can help people and put them in like what if I changed the stigma that is a life insurance professional? What if I changed that stigma? Can I do that? And you better believe I knew I could do that. And so, yeah, it was powerful having my wife's support, and we'll talk about that later. But it was more of a belief in myself, and knowing and having the belief that I can genuinely put my family on a different financial map. And actually, I don't like telling what I'm fixing to tell, but because it comes across like arrogant, and I don't mean that in any way, but I don't know any other way to tell it. I actually became, I didn't know this until the end of 2022, but I actually became the first person in the history of my family with my last name to make 6 figures in a year.
Woo!
It had never been done by anybody in my family. So again, I didn't come from all these different, you know, like my first car was a stick shift, like a 1996 Saturn Ion, baby. All right, so like we're not talking like Mercedes and all that. I didn't have any of that, but I knew. I think I had to find the belief in myself that I could do it. So what changed from a mental aspect was simply believing in myself and breaking, as somebody just said, breaking that generational curse uh, that I felt like was over my family. My wife, same instance. Nobody in her family to this day has ever cleared 6 figures. Um, but if you talk to us and you go out to eat with us or whatever, like you'll never know it. We don't ever. Our belief is we're blessed to be a blessing. So we try and we try and always like bless somebody, find some different way to be able to do that. My dad, for example, my dad's one of the biggest examples in my life. Um, since I've been doing Family First Life, my mom nor my father have ever paid for any meal when we went to dinner with them. They don't pay. I don't let them. And that's a great feeling. Oh, and by the way, my own father was the first one when I told him I was going to do this and that I was going to launch this business. My own dad was actually the one to tell me that's a mistake. You can't do it. Now, he was also the first person to come to me and say I was wrong. So,
And that's huge, I think that, like you said, when we don't have that belief in ourselves, or we don't have anyone, so to say, to borrow that belief from, it can be difficult because it seems so out of reach, right? But I think it's beautiful that you stepped up and you were like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna do this. And I think the more beautiful part about it is you didn't even necessarily know that you were doing that or set out on this mission of financial goal. You set out on a mission of how can I be blessed but be the blessing, right?
yeah,
And then out of that became beautiful, financial reward too for your family, and I'm sure also inner reward too for yourself and your family, as
sure.
there should be. So I love how you shared that. And that's kind of what made you transition, going from being able to not necessarily believe in yourself to you believe in yourself. And not only you, but all the people around you that didn't necessarily have that belief in themselves or anyone, so to say, prior. Now they're coming to you and you're seeing that belief too. And that's such validation. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it's also. I'm sorry. One thing to just add real quick. Like I think the everybody has that moment of time that where it just clicks. of something for them. And maybe you're on this call and you're only doing this part time or whatever. Like if you haven't had yours, rest assured it's probably coming at some point in time, but you've got to be looking for it. And to me, the final straw, so to speak, was whenever I was still part time. I told you I was a counselor, and I had this girl come in. In a matter of 6 months, she had lost both of her parents to two separate tragic accidents. She was 15 years old. I don't know of anybody in my life that by the age of 15 or six, before their 16th birthday, both parents were gone. She was a foster child. She had nobody. And I remember my boss came to me and he was like, well, we've got to diagnose her. What's your diagnosis? What do you think? We've got to have something to put on our books to be able to send to our higher ups and, people that pay us and how we get paid. And I turned around and I said, listen, if you're wanting me to put something on a file for us to be able to make money, for you to be able to do that, I'm not doing that. She's not depressed. She's not manic. She's freaking sad, man. She lost both of her parents. Like, let's be real. These are people that we're dealing with. And then whenever I saw going in the homes, the opportunity that I had, from a part-time basis, but the opportunity that I had to truly be a blessing to somebody and be somebody, you might be the only person that put a smile on their face that day, and they will never forget you for it. And so knowing that, kind of plugging those two stories together was kind of the straw that said, okay, you know what, I can do this, I can believe in myself, and I can help people, so let's go.
And I love that. And again, I can't speak from a standpoint of, how things should be diagnosed psychiatrically, et cetera. Obviously not, I'm not a doctor, but with what you just said, I mean, sounds very logical to me, like how you reacted to that situation. Like she's sad, she's going through it. She just lost both of her parents. She's 15 and a foster child. Like, I'm not going to put something on this paper. And I think that also says a lot about you and your character, that you're willing to stay true to yourself no matter the situation. And I think that's huge too. And like you said, there's usually a moment that you are like, you know what, I got this, right? And between that and then seeing those part-time results and being like, you know what, like I'm doing this thing. Like that was probably the moment for you that it clicked. You were like, game on, right? And
Right.
off to the races from there. So I love that story. Melissa just said she's tearing up, like I am too. But thank
How do
you
you think
for,
I felt actually being involved in it?
I could truly only imagine. So kudos to you for walking away from that.
Guys, when Devin told me that story when I met him at Founders Day, I was literally like, you need to be on my team call. I was like, you're so solid. Like, I have so much respect for you right now. Like, you need to be on my team call.
Absolutely. And it's just like, those are the situations and the moments that we actually, as people, like as actual people with hearts and feelings, like that we know who we are or who we aren't, right? So kudos to you, Devin. I'm sure you had to make a lot of different decisions, but you always stood behind what you believed is real. Now, just to kind of get into like the nitty gritty, like this business, when you first come into it, like you said, like your dad said at the beginning, he wasn't very supportive, so to say. And then he came back and he was the first person to say, hey, I was wrong, right? But with that being said, talk to us about the importance of support, from your family, your spouse, your friends, like when you're getting started in this business, and or the importance of a running buddy. And Devin, you probably know what I mean when I say running buddy, but for anybody on the call that doesn't, running buddy simply just meaning having somebody else that is within Family First Life in a positive influence that you're talking to on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. I told you guys that my wife broke the rule that day, and I told her later, like I don't know, on the 1 year anniversary of me being with Family First, I told her then, I was like, best rule you ever broke in your life, right? Um, Listen, here's the thing. This business has the opportunity to be very, very lonely. I believe that you've got to ask. So like in homes, we're asking our clients why. Why do you want this insurance? What's your why behind it? You have to have a why for why you want to be an agent, and why you want to be a licensed insurance professional. And for me, I mean, I literally look at it every day. I mean, that right there is my why. I don't get to have negative feelings. I don't get to uh feel sorry for myself. I've got to go. But when I do, I always have that person's arms. For me, it's my wife. For other people, it can be their husbands. It can be just a mentor in your life, but just somebody's arms that I can fall back into whenever I'm having a bad day, whenever I don't feel like me, or maybe it's a bad mental health day. And so, for me, I believe this: the lonelier you make it, the harder you make it. So the lonelier you make this business, you're just making it that much harder for yourself. And that's really like a pet peeve of mine is I can't stand whenever I see something, I'm going, you're making this entirely too freaking difficult. Um, when in reality, listen, we weren't created to do life alone, right? So in the same sense, like you weren't created, nor were you. So if you weren't created to do life alone, you're not going to be successful in this business as successful as what you could be if you had that person, that's somebody that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, this day freaking sucks, man. I'm over it. People are no showing me. I had somebody tell me to F off earlier. I had all these things happen. But when you have that person, everybody always asks, how you doing? And everybody's response is always, I'm good. What if you had that one person in your life or those people in your life that you could go, you know what? I'm not okay. And here's why. And so for me, that is my spouse. She would say that is her role as my wife, and I have that role as her husband. So yeah, whenever I come home in that 30-minute window, I'm for the rest of the evening, I'm not worrying about work. I'm being a husband. I'm being a father. But you've got to have that running buddy, even if you're single. Who the heck cares, man? Go find that somebody that's a mentor to you in this business. Listen, I had a horrible week, and yesterday I picked up the phone and I called Christina, and I was like, "Hey, listen, this stinks, man. I'm having a bad day, and here's why." And like we're able to bounce those things off of one another as well as provide that vent session, but in the same sense, okay, you griped about it, you got it out, now go fix it.
Right. I love that. And I think it's really, really important. And one thing I want to just really highlight what you said is you said the lonelier you make it, the harder you make it. So guys, when we go into our shell, so to say, or we stop talking to the people we're usually talking to, like get out of the shell. Like it's okay. Everyone's still there for you. 10 to 1 says, right? Like plug back in, talk back to that person, whatever it is. But the lonelier you make it, the harder you make it. Like I literally want to like put like I want to like trademark that, Devin. Like that's beautiful as it pertains to this business. Now, also having a why, like if you again, I always say your why kind of evolves as you kind of go through the business. It stays the same in terms of, for example, I'm always going to do this for my family, but I might also want to do it because I want to see ABC, right? So having that why in front of you, just like Devin's like, this is my why, like that's huge. That's really powerful, right? And being able to plug in, whether that's a mentor, it's somebody in the business. But guys, the biggest thing I can tell you, I made a mistake of coming into this industry at 20 years old. And I was like a mess talking to everybody. I talked to people that were not productive in the business about how business was going. And then we all sat there and we had a complaint session for 30 minutes, and then we were like, oh well, I guess we have to go back and do this thing called work that we're all allegedly so bad at. Right? It's like that's when you start seeing a bad result. So just like Devin's saying, make sure you're plugging into somebody, you're venting it out, and then you're letting it go. Like you're not carrying it on, because in my opinion, the worst thing you can do is call somebody who's going to complain with you and be like, Devin,
Yeah.
I feel so bad for you. Like, that's terrible. Like, you should probably just like maybe find something else to do. Like, that's
Yeah.
not going to help Devin. That's not going to help any of us guys. So call somebody that has been around the business. If you don't have, like Devin said, like you're not married. Like a lot of us on this call aren't. Maybe you don't have children. Maybe you are just getting started and you're like, you know what? I don't really know anybody in this business yet. Guys, get to know people. It's going to make your life that much easier. So find that mentor, find that outlet you can plug into that's healthy, and then you can unplug it and you can get back to work. Because just like Devin also said, I don't have time to feel bad for myself. And neither do I, Devin, right? Like we got like that little window and that's it. Right. So guys, let's
Yeah.
use that and that's it.
Yeah, and you've got to find. Listen, regardless if you're married, have children, don't have children, single, whatever it is, the people that you find that you choose to surround yourself with in this business with, they need to be smarter than you. Okay, I'm not going to surround myself with people. So whenever I came in, I surrounded myself with literally everybody who was smarter than me. And even to the point, like whenever I met Christina at Founders Day, I told her then, I said, I've never felt like such a little fish in my entire life. Because in that room, what I love so much about that day is I was surrounded by people who were smarter than me. They knew more about this business than me. That's also why I married the woman that I married. She's smarter than me. Okay. So I just wanted to add that in there. Make sure that your person, your running buddy, your whoever, make sure they're not going to coddle you. They're going to inspire you. That's the key.
Amen. I love that so much. Absolutely. Like guys, if you didn't write that down, I'm like, we all have this recording. Listen back to that because that's powerful. Make sure whoever you're surrounding yourself with is smarter than you. And just like you said, Devin, it's really humbling to be in a room like Founders Day, right? And be able to look around and be like, hey, like I might be one of the smallest people here. And it's like, that's great because I get to learn from all of these people here that are doing it at a higher level than me, right? So I love that. And also just love how humble you are, to say the least. Now, I know that you're meeting in the home still, 100% in the home, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it. So I might hit a little bit back on that, but in terms of asking for referrals, that is something that you do in every home.
Yes, that's correct. Even on virtuals, I still ask for referrals.
Beautiful. And I really want to hit on that because, guys, it's one thing to be like, oh, we have access to an inordinate amount of leads, which is great, by the way. Like, we love leads. But at the same time, guys, a referral is not only, hey, we can help that family's family or close friends. And to me, that's just special because, A, you're helping more people. And again, it's like be blessed, but be the blessing, you know, it goes back to that. And it also goes back to be quite frank, too, like, your persistency is going to be a lot better, right? Like if I go to Devin's home and help, you know, him and his wife, and then they refer me maybe to, you know, some family, some friends, whatever it may be, and I help out quite a few of them, 10 to 1 says my business is not going anywhere because this group of people, so to say, they like me, they understand the product, they like the product, and it's going to stay on the books, they understand the need. So Devin, talk to us a little bit about how you ask for referrals. If you don't even mind, like doing like a role play, whatever's going to be easiest for you.
Yeah, so it's real simple. I found this when I started in homes was I've got to get that person to trust me. And so what I actually tell them within the first 5 minutes, right? I've already shown them my license. I actually tell them, beautiful, listen, what I'm actually going to do for you today, I'm going to treat you like I would my family. Is that okay? And they say, yeah. I say, okay, good deal. The way I view it is this: you're young enough to be my sister. So in other words, if it's not something I'm not going to do for my own sister, I'm not going to do for you today. Does that make sense? They say, yeah. So we close the deal, right? We've already closed it. And I turn around and I say, beautiful, listen, I want to thank you so much for taking the step for your family today. It's a massive congratulations. I'm glad that search is over for you. If you know of somebody that you feel like I can help, I would really love the opportunity to be able to speak with them. Listen, unfortunately, there are a lot of wolves in sheep clothing out there that do what I do, and I can't guarantee that they're going to be able to put the absolute best for me. I don't put my family, but with anything but the best products out there. I believe you care about your family as much as I care about mine. So listen, I think if you've got anybody that you feel like I can help, you have their phone numbers real quick. I'm more than happy to call them. Here's a couple of extra cards. You've got mine. I did a poll at the end of last year. 56% of my business came from referrals,
Wow.
which means over half of what I'm doing. Meaning this, yes, there are people out there dropping 2, 3, 4 G's a month in leads. I might drop 1,500 a month, maybe. And that's on the high end because I'm dealing with, I go into one home and I'm leaving with 5 other people that I've got to call by the end of the day. Because I'll tell them, let them know this guy is going to be calling you. If they want my help, cool. If they don't, bye-bye, take care. I didn't lose anything on that lead. So every lead that I purchase is actually an opportunity for a brand new network.
I love that. There's a lot of power in that. And, what I do think too is, when you're presenting in the beginning, like, I'm going to treat you like, you're around my sister's age. I'm going to treat you like my sister. They already have that family vibe, so to say, and they're more likely to trust you as you go through that conversation. And you set the stage right from the beginning, which I love. Now, guys, just to be clear, Devin just said 56%. So guys, I want to be good. 56% of his business last year was referral business. Now, I'm not saying everybody on this call can't be like Devin and 56% of their business can't be through referrals, because it can. But Devin also writes at a pretty high clip. So with that being said, guys, we want to make sure that asking for referrals, ask in every home. Now, Devin, you know the mistake I made with referrals? The first company I ever went to, my practice company, if you will, you would not, like, you, me, anybody, nobody would survive, like, if you did not get referrals. So like, I would literally like pin you at the table. Like, I'm not leaving your house until you give me 10, right? Like, it was like survival mode, right? And with that, I'd be like, okay, Devin, like, and by the way, guys, this part right here that I'm going to hit on, if people are giving you referrals, I think is a good way to do it too, is, you get the referral, and let's just say Devin refers me to his friend, Mike. And I'm going to say, Mike's right down the street, let's just say. You can say, all right, let me give Mike a call now. We can go ahead and set up the appointment. Like, how credible are you when you're sitting there, I'm sitting with Devin, calling his friend Mike to set up the appointment? Mike's going to set the appointment, like 10 to 1 says, right? And I'm at least going to be able to get the information to him. So I think that that's huge. And just being able to ask, right? Sometimes we get too scared to ask. And it's like, Devin, what's the worst thing? And so where I was going with that, my old company, I wouldn't have survived. Then I came to the IMO world and I was like, these leads, this is great, right? And I stopped asking for referrals across the board. Biggest mistake anybody, I believe, that could make in this industry as it pertains to personal production. Guys, get used to asking for referrals. Ask the same way in every home. It's going to become just like your opening, it's your closing. And there's a lot of opportunity. Again, 56%, just in case anybody missed that. All right.
You have not because you asked not. So whether I sell that lead or not, somebody put a question in the chat. If I didn't write them, yeah, couple literally happened 2 days ago. Drove out to an appointment. He was like, "Oh, I thought this was for something else." Yada yada yada. It tells me he's all good. His daughter walks around the corner. I said, "Hey, how you doing today?" She said, "I'm good." I said, "Hey, real quick question. Who do you have your insurance through?" She said, "That's actually why I came out here. I needed to talk to you about getting my family covered." She's on the books. So
Wow.
every lead is a brand new opportunity for a network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So guys, like, keep that in mind. And just like Devin, if you don't ask, like, no one's just going to be like, here you go, like at least 99.999% of the time. So get uncomfortable, ask. And, I think that it's as simple as that, right? It's just like when you get your opening down, you're like, boom, that's my opening. Like, make this boom, it's your closing, right? And then, obviously, there's this whole, some people are doing telesales, some people are still at home. And I think that both work because I've done both. And I'm like, they both definitely work. But what benefits do you feel like you have, meeting with a client in person versus meeting with a client, over the phone or over Zoom? And in that question, I'm also going to ask you, Devin, what would you tell an agent that's getting started and not seeing necessarily the success they would want to see with telesales?
Yeah, so the reason I prefer in-home, I'm a people person through and through. Actually, the way that Christina and I met was she was downstairs sitting with other agents. I walked down there by myself, didn't know these people from anywhere, and just started talking with them. We just started talking, like, right. So I'm a people person. I believe that you're able to pull emotion from somebody a lot better face to face. It's also very, very easy for somebody to hit that hang up button, to hit that leave meeting button, to hit that whatever, and then dodge you and block you, and you're done. You're never going to see them again. It's a lot harder to tell somebody no face to face. I always say this: everybody can be a jerk behind a keyboard. Okay, so I mean, personally, I prefer in homes in that sense. That said, I think if you're on this call, you're hiring agents or whatever, and that agent comes to you and says, I want to do telesales, let them do telesales. Stop trying to form them to be what it is that you want them to be. And I've had to learn that recently for myself. So I do think that there's power in homes, though. I believe that you're able to kind of connect on a deeper level with them. I actually will take their phone, go ahead and plug my number in, and I'm like, hey, listen, that you see this name show up, that's as important as your mama calling, all right? I need you to answer the phone. That means that I need you for something, okay? Here in the South, we believe in Southern hospitality, so we get to do that. I don't know how it is up north, but I actually told Christine I want to visit Boston next year. So, but I just believe that there's power in that. And then the second part of your question was talking about like what I would say to a telesales agent who's not seeing success. Am I right?
Yeah, so it's like a brand new agent, maybe they're getting started telesales, but they're not seeing the success that they want to see.
Again, I go back to find somebody that's better than you. Um, get linked up with people that are good with telesales, that are fine. For me personally, the idea of me having to sit here and just dial all day long and sit on my cell phone all day is torture. I don't want to do that. I'd rather drive my vehicle with my screaming 10-month-old than do that. All right. But so, like, that's torture to me. But to some people, that is their niche. And if it is, and that's what they enjoy, encourage it and empower it. Don't shut it down. So if you're not seeing success, find people that are doing that every single day on a daily basis. Jump on their team calls, jump on their Zoom calls. My agency does a one call close every single day on Zoom. So jump on those, listen to them, absorb it, be a sponge. And the biggest thing that you've got to understand with telesales, it's not going to happen overnight. Okay? Anybody who has ever been great at anything, it did not click overnight. It takes time, it takes practice. I tell my agents to buy the cheapo leads and screw up on those because I'd rather you screw up on a 50-cent lead than screw up on a $15 lead. Okay. So you're viewing it every day as an opportunity to get better. Know that call didn't go great. Know that call didn't go with the way you wanted it to do. Who the heck cares, man? You're never going to see him again.
Yeah.
Right. So be done with it. Move on. But every day, try and get better through somebody who is actually doing it at a higher level than you.
I love that. And, I think that no matter who you are, there's always someone that's, better than you, if you will, that you can plug into, you can get advice from, you can ask for feedback, especially in the FFL model. So with that being said, guys, just like you just said, Devin, find someone better than you, but actually plug in. Like if you're doing telesales and you're not getting on the dial team that runs daily, just like Devin said, that we also have, guys, you're hearing people like Heather one call close, Jonathan Avila one call close. You're hearing all these people doing it, and they're doing it literally all day, every day, and they're issuing out, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Heather's probably going to write like 100 grand personally this month, right? So it's like plug in, right? And also the empowerment and encourage piece, I will empower you and encourage you and help you as much as you'll help yourself, right? It's like, just like Devin's saying, it's like, if you're not going to show up, we can't, no one's going to call you and be like, hey, I'm calling you for that life insurance, right? Like you got to show up for yourself too. And everyone's going to be there with you. Let's see. And as it pertains to being in an office, do you work from home or do you work in an office, Devin?
Nope, I'm actually in an office. So I rent in just south of downtown Birmingham, Alabama. So if you can't tell from the accent, that is where I'm from. So but yeah, so I rent an office. The biggest reason though is I can't, like, it's hard for me to work from home from a distraction standpoint, right? I have the cutest daughter on God's green earth, and so like if that baby's at home, I'm going to go be with my daughter. Point blank in the period. It's also very easy. You have a bad phone call or whatever like that, and you're like, oh look, Xbox, and so or something to that effect, or I'm just gonna go take a nap or whatever like that. For me, I go to an office. I'm held accountable by the people that are around me, and I'm also encouraged. So, yeah, I highly recommend offices.
I love that. And I actually feel the same exact way about my office. So I get it outside of the fact I don't have a baby as beautiful as yours or a baby at all. However, I'm like, I would be doing like the laundry, doing the dishwasher, like, cleaning the whole house. So that was my thing. Um, and this
Yeah.
is going to be kind of left field, Devin. But if you don't mind, I know you're in home, you're running, you're doing your thing. When you're tying your appointments down, so I was in home for a long time, more recently transitioned to telesales. Will you talk to us a little bit about that tie down? How are you tying your appointment down to make sure that when you get there Friday at 2, like they're going to be there too?
So, this is something that I tweak, I would say, at least on a monthly basis. I'll find something or think of something that runs hot, and then whenever it starts running cold, I'll change it. The one that has never failed me. So everybody in the South, I don't know if this is the way it is up there, but everybody in the South, we all have guns. Okay, every one of us. And so I actually like ploy on that whenever I'm calling uh down here is I'll just turn around and say, all right, good deal, listen, Marissa, I've got you for Friday at 2 o'clock. Listen, I take my appointment times very seriously. I hope you do the same as well. I'm going to be driving a gray Jeep Cherokee because that's the car I drive every day. So I tell them I'm going to be driving a gray Jeep Cherokee. I'm about 6 feet tall. I have a beard and the prettiest blue eyes you've ever seen in your life. So I need you to make sure that you're going to be there when you get there, and when I get there and you see that, do me a favor, put that shotgun behind the door. I do want to go home to my family. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. So
Love
like I do, and they do that right there. They laugh. So they're laughing on the phone. I've already made them laugh. Um, Laughter equals trust. Trust equals the sale.
Absolutely. And also it's like, you laugh at those things and then it's like a one more reason to remember. So I love that. I don't want to keep you on too long, but a couple of questions that popped into the chat. What type of leads do you predominantly work?
So typically I'll buy diamonds out of the CRM. I don't like anything older than that really. I'll buy ethos, freshman and cart leads. Those are actually my favorite go-tos. The reason you can't ever find them in the state is I buy them in Alabama. So, um, but I buy those, and then I buy the 15-step life insurance questionnaires. If I don't have what I need from there, I'll go in and go get titaniums or platinums if I absolutely have to. But typically, I never really do because, like I said, I'm running off of referrals a lot. So yeah, that's my primary source.
Okay, awesome. That makes sense. And then last couple questions. You talked a little bit about it, attending Founders Day, which I think is awesome that you had the opportunity to do that. Talk to us a little bit about how attending training events, meetings, team calls, dial team, annual convention can help you build and just grow as a person, but also build connections in this business.
Yeah, man, the connections is everything. Like I said, you've got to have those people, those network of people that are in the trenches with you on a daily basis. I would argue this: my business would not be within this country of success as far like I it would not be anywhere near where we are. And let me just preface that by saying this: we have so far to go. Um, It would not be where it is though if I didn't go to convention. Not this last year because my wife was giving birth to our daughter, but I went the year before. Um, and it was in the convention where I actually saw, like, I took myself out of this is just something I do to this is my business. And so it's absolutely worth it. I will be at convention next month. My wife will be there. My daughter won't be, but forgive me, I'm not putting a 10-month-old on an airplane. I'm not doing it. So, but it's absolutely important to have those connections because it takes the loneliness out of it, right? So you're allowed then to have those people that you get to bounce ideas off of, that you get to say, hey, this is working. No, this is working, and have that true accountability, so to speak, right? I've started going to the gym recently. I know you can't tell, but I have, and I actually will make like I'll do a Snapchat to the people in my thing for an accountability post. Like that's my accountability. So I have my accountability every single day. I don't care if you've heard it before, right? A lot of these things on these calls all get said the same thing. I don't care if you've heard it before. Hear it again.
Amen.
Because statistically, somebody needs to hear something 6 to 7 times before it actually sinks in for them. That's why I'm also a really, really big proponent of writing stuff down. You remember 90% of what you write down, only 10% of what you hear. So understanding that was big.
I love that. And even how Devin, you were like, I met Christina at Founders Day. I had went, downstairs and just kind of, got involved in a conversation, right? Like you might be on this call and you might be like, well, I'm like, maybe I'm too shy to do that. I'm nervous to do that. Guys, here's the great thing about annual convention. When you get there, you're not going to be by yourself. Like, even if you're that person, right? That's, you're kind of introverted, you're kind of nervous, but like, don't be like, you're not going to be by yourself. You're going to be with a team of people who want to see you win. And above that, you're going to be with a company of people who want to see you win and who are there for a common goal, which is how do I get better in this business? And I love what Devin said. He said, when I went to annual convention, what I realized is I took my personal hat off, if you will. I put my business hat on and I was attentive and I was there to do business. So like when we can all look at it like that, guys, it's like, why would we miss it? The only reason we would miss it, like Devin said, is if someone's given birth. I think that's a very valid reason to miss it. There's very limited reasons outside of that I think are a good excuse to miss it. Because guys, at the end of the day, this is our business. And just like Devin also said, a lot of the stuff that's on this call, any call that you listen to, across the board, it's like the same stuff is said. And guys, that's almost intentional because we all pick to that different person, or just like Devin said, 6 to 7 times to pick up on something that someone's telling you, right? Also writing information down. Like I know for me, like I literally have like a whole paper here that I wrote a bunch of notes down and I can't wait to go transfer it over my notebook. It's like, if you take notes and you read them, it goes a long way. And I'm not being like sarcastic or rhetorical. It's a factual thing. So guys, with that all being said, Devin, I can't thank you enough. I think this call was absolutely incredible. I love it. I love your story. I love your insight, how you ask for referrals, how you handle people, and just how much it seems like you actually truly care about people. And I think that's huge. So I can't thank you enough. I can't wait to see both you and the wife at annual convention. And I hope you have an amazing rest of the day, Devin.
I'm so sorry about that.
You're
Y'all
good.
too.
Don't worry about it.
Listen, the biggest thing I just want to close with one thing. Care about the people that you talk to. They're people. They're not blank checks. They're not some way for you to forward, your next whatever. They're people. They're going through real life situations. Love them, treat them, because then you get to be the difference in their life.
Amen to that. And it always works full circle, right? And I think that we can both attest to that. So Devin, thank you so much. There was so much value in this call.